Space trembled as the Valorian Dominion's 7th Expansionary Armada dropped out of fold space, their arrival ripping a luminous wound across the stars. Hundreds of crescent-shaped warships shimmered into formation, each a ruthless instrument of conquest. Their hulls glowed with a cold, violet radiance, like blades waiting to strike. Aboard the colossal flagship Vraction, High Strategos Zouthlan watched the star map unfold before him. His 4 crystalline eyes narrowed as he studied the scattering of human colonies across the frontier. To him, they were not sovereign settlements, only uncorrected anomalies. Terran expansion accelerates, his adjutant reported, voice clipped. If left unchecked. Zouthlan cut him off. There is no if. They rise too quickly. Their resilience is unacceptable. His voice carried the calm certainty of someone who had never tasted defeat. We cleanse the Kestrel line before they grow into an actual problem. He turned away, cloak flowing like a storm front. The Dominion had conquered systems 10 times stronger than Earth's splintered offspring. Yet Terrans, despite their youth, irritated him in ways no species had before. They kept inventing. Keep adapting. Kept surviving. It defied logic. He hated riddles he couldn't solve. Prepare the Armada, he said. Every Terran asset in the expanse will fall. Light years away, aboard the Terran dreadnought TAS Valiance, Captain Arya Cole stood at the center of the command bridge, gazing at the incoming distress reports. Screens flickered with images of burning settlements, crippled transport ships, and static-choked pleas for help. The Dominion hit the outer colonies harder than expected, Commander Rios murmured beside her. His fingers danced across the holographic interface. Local defense grids are collapsing. Arya didn't blink. What's the closest target? Kestrel Reach. Civilian convoys are trying to flee before the Dominion's next strike. Her jaw tightened. Every instinct in her wanted to jump straight into the fire, but a single ship couldn't save everyone, not even the Valiants. Yet she also knew humanity couldn't afford another traumatic retreat. Not now. Not after unifying the Accord only a decade earlier. What about our reinforcements? She asked. Still 72 hours out. Arya exhaled slowly. So it's just us. The Valiance hummed beneath her feet, its newly forged gravity core pulsing with steady potential. The ship was experimental, untested in real combat, and dangerous even to its own crew, yet it was humanity's most advanced vessel, a symbol of everything they had learned after centuries of fighting among themselves. Rios glanced at her. Orders, Captain? Arya looked at the star map. Fleeing ships scattered like sparks around the Kestrel system. A handful of Dominion cruisers hunted them with terrifying precision. Set course for Kestrel Reach. Maximum full speed, she declared. Aye, Captain. The bridge buzzed with coordinated movement. Arya kept her gaze forward, spine straight. This was why she'd taken command of the Valiants. If they didn't stand here, humanity wouldn't stand anywhere. The moment they entered the system, chaos greeted them. A Valorian cruiser, its hull lined with prismatic armor plates, was encircling a convoy of battered freighters. The alien ship's weapons lit up in a slow, lethal rhythm. One more volley and the freighters would be nothing but drifting slag. Dominion vessel locking weapons on the civilians, Rios reported. Sergeant Mara Quinn, armored in her marine gear, stepped to Arya's side. We can deploy shuttles and bring survivors aboard if you buy us a minute. A minute, Arya repeated. That's doable. Her voice cut through the bridge like an edged command. Helm, she said. Bring us between the cruiser and the convoy. Angle the bow to absorb the first salvo. Captain, Rios began, but Arya lifted a hand. We have the core. They don't expect us to take a hit head-on. The Valiant surged forward, engines flaring white. The Valorian cruiser paused, caught off guard by the audacity of a lone Terran ship charging straight at it. Arya watched the enemy image grow larger. Rios, target their ventral lattice. That's shielded by a gravity veil, he warned. Not for us. She tapped the gravity core controls. Prepare a focused warp lance. The crew knew better than to question her. The Valiance's quantum core thrummed, twisting spacetime into a narrow spear of compressed distortion. Fire! The warp lance shot forward, a silent, invisible strike. The Valorian cruiser's gravity veil rippled once, then snapped apart as if punctured by a cosmic needle. The ventral lattice exploded in a cascade of violet shards. The cruiser reeled, drifting powerless. Rios looked stunned. Direct hit. Arya didn't allow herself a smile. Open a channel. Static filled the bridge before clearing into terrified Valorian voices. Terran vessel, identify. What technology? How did you? Arya spoke calmly. This is Captain Arya Cole of the TAS Valiance. You will cease fire and withdraw from this system. The reply was thick with disbelief. You crippled a Dominion cruiser with one shot. Yes, she said simply. Withdraw. No threats. No bravado. Just fact. After a suspended moment, the cruiser initiated emergency recall protocols and folded away, a rare Valorian retreat. Rios released the breath he'd been holding. They actually ran. Quinn gave a sharp grin. Word of that will make the rounds fast. Arya kept her expression steady, but inside she felt the first flicker of hope. Terrans had finally delivered a counterpunch strong enough to make an empire blink. Minutes later, as the last civilians were escorted aboard, a new transmission broke through the comms, encrypted, Dominion-coded. Rios patched it through. Zalthuan's voice filled the bridge like cold static. A Terran ship dares to disrupt Dominion operations. Identify the vessel that carries such irregular energy signatures. Arya stood tall. High Strategos, this is the Valiance. Your forces attacked fleeing civilians. We intervened. A short silence. Then Zalthuan's voice sharpened with curiosity rather than anger. Your vessel is unknown. Your weapon output does not match Terran capability. You interest me, Captain. I wasn't trying to, she replied. You will be captured, he said, as if predicting weather. Your technology will be studied. Your colonies will fall regardless. Arya leaned closer to the display. You've ruled uncontested for centuries. That ends here. Defiance is inefficient. Maybe. But we've had a lot of practice. The channel cut. Rios turned. He's sending the 7th Armada. Straight toward us. Arya nodded once. Then we won't wait for them to strike first. Her eyes settled on the growing red markers flooding the map. The Dominion was coming in force, larger than anything the frontier had ever faced. But the Valiance didn't retreat. Crew, she said, voice calm yet fueled with iron resolve, prepare for incoming hostiles. We hold this line until every last civilian is clear. The ship vibrated as power rerouted to the core. The stars outside darkened as the Dominion Armada approached like a devouring storm. Captain, Rios said quietly, we're one ship. Arya stared into the rising tide of enemy signatures. Then we make one ship enough. The Valiance drifted silently in the outer fringes of the Kestrel system, its engines humming a low, persistent thrum that resonated through the hull. Stars stretched into fine streaks as the ship executed subtle fold space maneuvers, seeking the most advantageous positions from which to observe the Valorian Armada without revealing itself. The vast emptiness of space felt deceptively calm, but every sensor ping carried the tension of an unseen predator lurking in the dark. On the bridge, Arya Cole traced the incoming sensor readings with precise attention. Every Valorian cruiser, every frigate, every shadow of energy flowing from their fleet was catalogued and assessed. She did not trust the Armada's movements. They were unpredictable, coordinated, and lethal. Captain, Commander Rios said, voice low. The flagship is maintaining formation 3 light minutes ahead. It's unusual. Normally they would scout first. Arya's eyes narrowed. They want to bait us. Or study us. Either way, they're underestimating how fast we can respond. Rios gave a half-grin. That, or they're curious. Don't forget, they've never faced a Terran vessel like ours. Curiosity can be deadly, Arya replied. In the ship's engineering core, Dr. Lorne adjusted the gravity core's stabilization matrix, monitoring the delicate fluctuations of quantum fields under strain. The core was the Valiant's secret weapon, its power output measured in terajoules, capable of bending spacetime to project concentrated energy or shift entire objects off course. But even a minor miscalculation could tear the ship apart. "You're pushing the core too hard," said Lieutenant Kira, Lorne's assistant, her voice taut with concern. "The last Fold Lance simulation showed structural stress beyond acceptable levels." Lorne didn't look up. "It's fine. The simulations were cautious. Reality can handle more. Trust me, Captain Cole has no interest in using it until it counts." A low chime sounded. Lorne swiveled to see the bridge's tactical overlay flash red. Multiple Valorian corvettes had entered the system undetected. "Captain, contact," Rios said, urgency threading his tone. "They're moving into intercept vectors around the convo." Aria's hands moved instinctively across the control console. "Distance? 40,000 kilometers. Closing fast." She tilted her head, assessing the situation. Her mind, as always, raced through variables, probabilities, and contingencies. One ship, one crew, yet endless possibilities. "Prepare evasive vectors," she ordered. "Marines, ready for boarding contingencies. Rios, mark the corvette's weak points. If we need to neutralize them quickly, we do it efficiently. No theatrics." The bridge vibrated as the Valiance adjusted its trajectory, slipping through the void like a shadow. As the corvettes closed in, the first contact occurred. Energy pulses sliced through the empty space where the Valiance had been moments before, narrowly missing its hull. Rios cursed under his breath. "They're faster than predicted." Aria's gaze was steady. "They're following standard Dominion engagement protocols." "That's predictable. Use their predictability against them." She signaled to the tactical screen. "Initiate phased gravity distortion." A silent pulse emanated from the Valiance's core, twisting the surrounding spacetime. The nearest corvettes shuddered as if struck by an invisible hammer, their hulls warping slightly before snapping back. Disorientation spread through the Dominion pilots like a wave. "Missiles inbound," reported Tactical. "Divert shields, vector to secondary thrusters, fire countermeasures," Arya said. Her voice was a calm anchor amid the storm. The Valiant shuddered as plasma flares erupted around the ship, destroying the incoming ordnance mid-space. The corvettes hesitated. They had never encountered a target that fought back with such precision and unpredictability. "Status?" Arya asked. "Minimal hull damage," Rios replied. "Core integrity stable. Civilians are secure." Arya nodded once. "Good. Keep moving. Stay unpredictable. They need to be unsure what to expect next." Hours passed in tense observation. Each Valorian ship was analyzed, catalogued, and their maneuvers anticipated. Dr. Lorne leaned over Aria's shoulder, pointing at the tactical grid. "Captain, they're coordinating patterns. If we can force them into a narrow fold space corridor, we can isolate the flagship from the rest of the fleet." Aria's eyes lit with the spark of strategy. "That's exactly what we need. Rios, can we manipulate gravitational folds to create a corridor?" Rios studied the schematic. "It's risky, but yes. With the core at full efficiency, we can bend their approach vectors, force them into predictable paths while giving ourselves the advantage." Arya turned to the crew. "This is our opportunity. Every move must be precise. One mistake, and we lose the chance to protect the colonies." Vox, the AI, interjected in its dry, mechanical tone. "Probability of success, 73%. Risk of minor structural compromise, 41%. Probability of crew morale collapse, negligible, assuming leadership remains coherent." Arya allowed herself a faint smile. "Then we make it 74. Night fell across Kestrel Reach, not that anyone could see stars through the thick atmosphere and planetary debris. The Valorians advanced steadily, unaware that the Valiance was shadowing their fleet, calculating each vector and angle of approach. In the temporary calm, Arya walked the bridge quietly, observing her crew. Each individual was tense yet focused, understanding that survival relied not on firepower alone, but on ingenuity, coordination, and trust. She paused at Quinn, who was monitoring boarding and marine readiness. Ready? Arya asked. Quinn grinned. Always. Just tell us where to hit. That's the difference, Arya muttered. Between us and them. We adapt. They just execute orders. The Valiance, in its silent strength, drifted like a ghost among the stars, unseen yet undeniable, a shadow the Dominion could not fully comprehend. As the fleet closed in on the evacuation corridors, Arya received an encrypted Dominion transmission. The voice was calm, curious, almost reverent in a way that unsettled her. Captain of the Terran vessel, it said. Your maneuvers are unconventional. Your vessel should be destroyed by conventional standards. Yet you survive. Why? Arya looked to Rios. What do they mean by that? Rios shook his head. They don't understand human creativity. They see rules. We bend them. Arya stepped closer to the comm panel. Hi Strategos Zalthuin, this is Captain Arya Cole. We protect the innocent. Your fleet is in our path, and we will not yield. A pause. Then the reply clipped cold, but tinged with fascination. Terran audacity is interesting. I will observe. Do not think your survival is permanent. The transmission ended abruptly. The crew exhaled collectively, but Arya's eyes stayed sharp. They had been noticed, studied. The real danger had only begun. Prepare for contact, she said quietly, but with unmistakable authority. They've seen us. Now they'll come for us. The stars beyond the viewport began to pulse as the distant lights of the Valorian armada grew larger, approaching at speeds that seemed impossible to track. The ghost ship, the Valiance, alone among the colonies, prepared to turn observation into action. Arya turned to her crew. Remember this, we fight smart, we fight together, and we fight to protect every life in the system. Our enemies may be vast, but they have not met Terrans like us before. Rios nodded. Then let's make sure they never forget. Quinn's grin was fierce. Time to ghost through the void. Arya's hands rested lightly on the console. The hum of the gravity core echoed beneath her feet, a heartbeat of power waiting to strike. Somewhere, out there in the darkness, the Dominion fleet was assembling. And somewhere in that darkness, humanity's first true defiance against the galactic empire was about to ignite. The first salvo arrived like a storm breaking across calm seas. The distant lights of the Valorian armada flared bright, then vanished in a blink as their energy weapons swept toward Kestrel Reach. The Valiance shuddered as the outer shields absorbed the brunt of the blasts. The bridge trembled beneath the impact, but Arya Cole stood unwavering, a steady anchor amid chaos. Shields holding at 87%, Rios reported. They're testing our defenses. Tactical patterns indicate coordinated suppression of civilian corridors. Arya's eyes narrowed. The Valorians were precise, relentless, but predictable. Keep the corridors clear. Marines, maintain boarding defense protocols. We protect the innocents first, always. Sergeant Mara Quinn's squad monitored the corridors from armored stations. Evacuations are half complete, Captain. But the Dominion's boarding pods are closing fast. Then we give them something else to think about, Arya said, her mind racing. Outside the Valiance, the void erupted in controlled chaos. Corvettes and frigates engaged, firing and dodging, while civilians clung to transport lanes. The Valiance moved with a precision that belied its size, weaving through fire like a phantom. Every decision aboard the bridge counted, every delay meant death. Rios leaned toward Arya. Captain, they've adapted. They're anticipating our evasive folds. One more misstep and... I know, Arya said calmly. Then we'll invent another misstep of their own. She tapped the gravity core interface, diverting a fraction of energy into microsingularity emitters, devices capable of momentarily warping spacetime around enemy craft. The idea was dangerous. Even a slight miscalculation could destabilize the Valiance's hull. Execute on my mark, she instructed. Vox, the AI, chimed in with its usual dry wit. Probability of hull compromise, 49%. Probability of enemy disarray, 93%. Probability of regret, negligible. Arya smirked faintly. Then let's make it count. The first wave of corvettes passed through the manipulated fold space corridor. Time and space shifted unnaturally around them. Their engines faltered as if wading through molasses, their vectors thrown off. Plasma streams misfired, colliding with empty space. The Valiant struck at precise weak points, tearing through several hulls in seconds. Direct hit on 2 corvettes. They're retreating, Rios said. Quinn grinned. Told you they wouldn't know what hit them. Arya didn't allow herself a smile. The momentary advantage was fleeting. The Dominion flagship had yet to intervene, and she knew Zalthan would adjust tactics immediately. Status on civilian convoys? She asked. All clear for now, Captain, Rios said. But there are more incoming vessels, multiple boarding pods detected. Then we keep moving, Arya said. No stopping until every last civilian is in safe orbit. Hours passed in tension-filled silence, punctuated only by alerts and the occasional flare of weapon fire. The crew adapted with meticulous coordination, micro-singularity emitters, gravity pulses, phased evasions. Every human aboard performed beyond expectation, executing orders with calm precision. Captain, Lorne said, adjusting the core's output. The core can handle one more concentrated warp-lance strike. After that, structural integrity begins to degrade significantly. Arya considered the map. The Dominion flagship remained a constant presence, hovering at a distance, observing, calculating. We need to hit it before it adjusts. Prepare the core. Rios, mark target vectors. We'll take a calculated risk. Calculated or insane? Vox asked. Both, Arya replied. And it works. As the flagship advanced, the Valiants engaged in a dance of deception. Folding and unfolding in sudden bursts, it used gravity distortions to confuse sensors and distort enemy targeting. The Dominion ships, vast and meticulously programmed, found themselves chasing shadows. Enemy fighters approaching from the starboard flank, Rios warned. They're trying to flank us while the flagship stays back. Then we give them a phantom, Arya said. She diverted a micro-singularity pulse to create a decoy image of the Valiants. Sensors aboard Dominion ships locked onto it instinctively, launching missiles that passed harmlessly through the illusion. Quinn's squad cheered silently, gripping controls as if sensing the tides of battle turning. Arya's gaze remained fixed on the distant flagship. It was a leviathan among warships, bristling with energy beams and psionic arrays. Yet it hesitated, constrained by protocol, overconfident in its superiority. They think they can outthink us, Arya muttered. They've never faced humans in this way. The Valorian flagship finally acted. Massive beams converged on the Valiants, tearing space and light asunder. The bridge shook violently, alarms screamed, and shields flared under the energy assault. Shields at 60%! Rios shouted. Arya's hands moved with mechanical precision across the console. Divert power to forward shields. Gravity pulse. Synchronize with evasive vector 527. Do it now! The Valiants bucked, engines roaring as the warp lance deflected a portion of the beams while micro-singularity emitters scattered the rest. The flagship reeled in confusion. Humans had survived the impossible. Rios let out a low whistle. Captain, they didn't expect that. Then we keep moving, Arya said. No brakes. They underestimate us because they can't predict us. A sudden alert lit the bridge. Boarding pods had launched directly toward the Valiant's lower hull. Quinn's squad activated defensive turrets and force fields, repelling the first wave with brutal efficiency. Marines fired plasma rounds that shredded Valorian exocets before they could breach the outer hull. Captain, Quinn said, voice tense but confident. Boarding attempts neutralized, but they're persistent. Another wave is incoming. Then we'll give them another lesson in futility, Arya replied. Lorne, charge secondary gravity pulse for hull reinforcement. I want every entry point stabilized before the next strike. The Valiants groaned as the ship adjusted, the core straining to maintain balance between offense and defense. Every crew member understood the stakes. One failure, one miscalculation, and they would become casualties in a system they were sworn to protect. Amid the chaos, Aria's mind focused on strategy. Every move by the Dominion revealed its assumptions, every hesitation exposed an exploitable pattern. They relied on overwhelming numbers and predictable protocols. Humans relied on adaptability, ingenuity, and trust in one another. "Rios," she said quietly, "we need to make them commit to a fatal error. The flagship cannot escape us if we force them into the corridor." "Agreed," he said. "But we have to be ready to sacrifice structural integrity for the opportunity." Arya considered for a brief moment, then nodded. "Then we risk it. Humanity doesn't wait for perfect odds." She glanced at the bridge crew, each focused, each committed. "Prepare for Phase 2, she commanded. "When the flagship moves, we strike." The first major encounter had ended, but the fight was far from over. The Valiants had held the line, protected civilians, and survived against impossible odds. Yet as the Valorian armada regrouped, adapting to every tactic, Arya knew the true test was approaching. The flagship's full strength was still out there, waiting. Arya exhaled, feeling the weight of responsibility settle like steel across her shoulders. She had won a battle, but the war was only beginning. "Captain," Rios said, voice low, "the flagship's energy output, it's unlike anything we've ever encountered. They're preparing something." Arya's eyes narrowed. "Then we prepare to meet it head on. They may be superior in size, in firepower, but humans?" She allowed a faint, determined smile. "Humans adapt. And we never, ever back down." Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. Inside the Valiants, hope glimmered, a flicker of defiance in the face of a galaxy-spanning empire. And somewhere, beyond sight, the Dominion observed, intrigued and unsettled by the audacity of a single human ship. The void ahead was alive with fire and motion. The Valorian 7th Armada converged on the Kestrel system, a seemingly endless line of warships bristling with energy weapons and psionically controlled drones. In the center of it all, the Dominion flagship glowed like a dark star, immense and lethal. The TAS Valiants hung poised in the void, alone yet unyielding. Captain Arya Cole stood on the bridge, her hands lightly resting on the console. The hum of the gravity core beneath her feet pulsed like a heartbeat, steady, relentless, waiting for the signal to strike. Rios leaned over her shoulder, scanning the tactical overlay. "Captain, they've committed the flagship to the attack. Every vessel in formation is moving to intercept us." Arya's gaze didn't waver. "Then we give them what they came for." The first volleys erupted, plasma streams tearing through space toward the Valiants. Energy shields flared, shivering under the impact. The crew moved with mechanical precision, executing evasive folds, countermeasures, and micro-singularity pulses. "Shields at 60%, Rios reported. "Keep them there," Arya said. "We're not surviving this by hiding." Quinn's Marine squad activated boarding deterrents, sending psionically guided countermeasures flaring toward incoming enemy pods. The boarding attempts dissolved before reaching the hull. Vox, the AI, interjected in its usual dry tone. "Probability of survival, decreasing. Probability of victory, increasing. Recommend decisive action." Arya nodded. "Decisive action it is." Her plan was audacious, bordering on madness. Using the Valiant's gravity core, she would compress a micro-singularity and direct it at the flagship's gravitational nexus. It was a maneuver no human had attempted in combat. One miscalculation, and the Valiance itself would be obliterated. "Rios," she said, "set the vector. Target the heart of their flagship's energy core. Lorne, maximize containment fields around the hull. Everyone else, brace for extreme tidal forces." The core thrummed like a living creature. The entire ship vibrated as the singularity built, folding the surrounding space into a tight cone. Arya's crew worked as one, their actions synchronized with almost imperceptible efficiency. Rios glanced at her. "Captain, this could tear the ship apart." "Not just them," The Valiants too. Aria's eyes were steel. Then we make it count anyway. Humanity doesn't win by playing safe. The singularity was unleashed. Space twisted. Stars bent unnaturally. The flagship's hull screamed under the strain as the micro-singularity tore through its gravitational heart. Energy conduits overloaded, and the immense ship began to collapse inward, spinning as its own gravity turned against it. Valorian ships floundered in the shockwave, their formation breaking apart. Missiles collided mid-space, plasma arrays misfired, and chaos reigned among the armada. Direct hit, Rios breathed. They're disintegrating. Aria didn't celebrate. She monitored the Valiants, feeling every strain as the core struggled to maintain stability. Outside, the battlefield was a storm of fire and twisted metal. Evacuate the civilian convoys, she ordered. Get them clear. Now. Quinn's voice crackled over comms. Convoys are retreating. Shields are holding. We're all that stands between them and complete annihilation. High Strategos Zalthlin's voice resonated in the minds of his fleet, psionically amplified. Impossible! They cannot destroy a vessel of my design. Aria's hands tightened on the console. They underestimate humans. They always do. The flagship's collapse accelerated. Its gravitational core imploded, dragging fragments of the armada with it. Light and matter twisted in impossible patterns. The surrounding ships faltered, disoriented and leaderless. The Empire's most feared fleet was crumbling before a single Terran ship. Rios exhaled. Captain, we did it! Aria's expression was solemn. Victory had been hard-won, and the cost had been immense. Not yet, she said. Ensure the convoys escape. Then we assess damage. Hours later, the dust of battle hung across the system. The Valorian armada had fractured. Some ships fled in confusion, others surrendered to avoid total destruction. The Kestrel-Reach colonies, battered but alive, sent messages of gratitude and relief. Across the communications network, whispers of humanity's victory spread like wildfire. Zalthlin's final transmission reached the Valiants, his voice cold, brittle, but laced with something new, fear. Terrans, you have survived, but the galaxy will remember this. You may have won a battle, not a war. Aria stood, letting the words wash over her. She answered simply, clearly, without arrogance. The galaxy has always remembered humanity. And we're just getting started. The crew exhaled collectively, relief tempered by exhaustion. Lorne and his engineering team worked to stabilize the core, which had sustained extreme stress but remained intact. Core integrity at 90%, Lorne reported. We're lucky it held together. Quinn cracked a grin, wiping sweat from her brow. Lucky? I'd call it genius. Aria shook her head slightly, a faint smile breaking her stoicism. We did what we had to do. That's what counts. Rios approached, leaning on the console. Captain, the other species in the expanse, they're watching. They'll rise now. Seeing a single human ship take down a Dominion flagship? They'll know it's possible. Aria's gaze shifted to the viewport, where the remnants of the Valorian armada drifted, twisted and broken. Then let them rise. Let the galaxy remember why humans never surrender. A final communication went out from the Valiants, broadcast across the frontier. This is Captain Aria Cole of the TAS Valiants. Humanity stands. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. And we will not bow to tyranny. The words traveled through space, carried to every settlement, every hidden outpost, every species under Dominion rule. A spark of rebellion ignited in hearts that had long feared defeat. Vox, almost imperceptibly, remarked, Probability of resistance uprising, increasing exponentially. Probability of peace, uncertain. Aria smiled faintly. Then let's make sure they fight for freedom. The Valiants, battered but unbroken, drifted through the void. Its crew, exhausted yet unshakable, prepared for repairs, resupply, and the next engagement. The galaxy had witnessed what a single human ship could achieve. A spark had been lit, and empires that had ruled uncontested for centuries now understood the defiance of humanity. Arya stood on the bridge, hands resting lightly on the console. Stars stretched infinitely before her, silent witnesses to the rebellion she had ignited. "Humanity survives," she murmured, voice calm but resolute. "And one day, we will thrive." Outside, the stars seemed brighter, as if acknowledging the victory. The Kestrel Reach colonies, and countless worlds beyond, would remember this day, the day a single Terran battleship changed the course of the galaxy.